Welcome everybody. Oppo Find X7 Ultra finally in my hands. This is going to be the camera test. Very important to say, with the day zero software, which means that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is running with the software from the box. Why am I saying this? Because guys, there is already an update, 1 GB. Apparently it fixes some things with the camera 3x and 6x focus performance, but I wanted to just see how this baby can perform out of the box. So alright, 4K 60 FPS on the back camera, guys. I just had a moment of freaking out because the camera on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra condensed a bit and I just got worried. Let me try to do a running test to see the stabilization, which is almost flawless on the S23 Ultra, and I don't have a feeling that the Oppo is gonna be able to match this. One more time, running towards this. I have the feeling that again the camera has condensed a bit because the footage is a bit foggy. And now I'm testing the focusing. Now apparently the Oppo cannot focus as close as the S23 Ultra. It can go really close, you can see. And this is how close I can get with the Oppo. This is the problem that I'm experiencing. I'm not sure if you can see this here, guys. I'm trying to go and engage with the 3x. Here apparently there is some condense and it's just beneath the glass, right? So this here is the main sensor. Now let's do the 4K 30 FPS zoom lens switch video. Okay, let's go, guys. I'm shooting right now at 1 and I'm gonna be able to now go and zoom cycle to 6 here on the Oppo, and you can see that it's 7 on the Samsung. Okay, now one more time I'm gonna go back to 1, and you can see, guys, the moment I change the main sensor to the 3x, you can see the picture shifting. So right now I'm gonna do this on the Oppo Find X7 Pro. So right now 1x, and I'm gonna initiate the zoom switch that happens at 2.7. Now I'm using 3x. Okay, same now on the Samsung. I'm going to jump to 3x, so 3x now on both phones. All right, now I'm gonna go to 6x and check that zoom lens switch. 6x also on the Samsung, although it's a crop from digital, it's not so bad. Now 10x on both phones, guys. 10x 4K 30 video. All right, left S23 Ultra, right we have the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, the new camera beast. Now that's the maximum zoom magnification. I can get 20x on the S23 Ultra and 18x on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, and you can just see it's snowing like crazy. Now back to 1. Right now, see, the main footage from the Oppo is really fucked. I'm gonna go to the ultra wide here as well. See, guys, the moment I switch from the main sensor to the ultra wide, right, or even to the 3x, I don't have this fog problem. So the fog problem comes only on the main camera, which is actually making me feel bad about this. I don't think that's okay, but that's the way it is. So for the moment I have to live with this. Sun mode is on, guys, so let's see how those phones are going to perform with the broad daylight and of course sun. So again, left is S23 Ultra, right is the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, 4K 60 FPS, and you can see so many people here, right, because we have snow. Well, not everywhere, but we have snow. Let me try to do a run to test the stabilization. Now I'm gonna do a zoom with the 4K 60, and you know it's gonna be a crop from both phones, guys. So this is here 4 already on the S23 Ultra. This is the maximum 10 on the S23 Ultra, and the Oppo can do here only 6. Alright, and this is the footage that we get. Now let's go to 4K 30 and check the optical zoom lens switch. And now we're talking, guys. I've started with the ultra wide. Let me try to give you this clear view, and by the way, here, check what the sun is causing to the Ultra. Alright, in the context of lens flare. It's very important to see how well the phones can manage the exposure, not overexpose the highlights and not crush and kill the shadows here. Now 1x on the Ultra and also 1x on the Oppo, and this here is the main sensor, 4K 30 FPS. Let me try to also run with the phones, and now hopefully without the fog the Ultra can get closer, right? You can see, wow, and apparently not so close on the Fine X7 Ultra. Now back to this scene, and now I'm gonna go to 2x crop from the main sensor on the Ultra and 2x from the Oppo. This is the 2x footage, and by the way, I'm walking, so now very important, I'm gonna go 3x on the S23 Ultra and now 3x also on the Oppo Fine X6. Now I'm using 6, and you know this is optical on the Oppo and digital on the Samsung, but still let me know what you think about the footage. And I'm gonna engage 10x on the Samsung, and you can check that sweet lens change when we initiate 10x. Now 10x also on the Oppo, guys. That will be optical on the S23 Ultra, and it's gonna be hybrid on the Oppo. And now guys, I'm gonna go all the way up to 20x on the S23 Ultra and only 18 here on the Oppo, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Guys, the fogging issue returned. You can now clearly see this here is the main sensor, right? Wow, this is really disgusting, guys. And this here is, I think, the 3x. This is absolutely disgusting. I hate that one. 4K 60 front camera, guys. It's already dark, and I'm gonna go into a darker area. And here comes the good stuff, guys. 4K 30 FPS, so that I'm able to change the lenses from the ultra wide to the wide main camera and then the zoom. What a beautiful shot, guys. And by the way, it's night. If you don't believe me, then I tell you, it's already night. But because of so much snow and etc., we have this stunning footage. So let me try to run a bit and see how well stabilization works. Now I'm using ultra wide on both phones, and I'm gonna go back to 1x. Alright, 1x on both phones. Maybe time to test the 3x with Samsung, and I'm gonna reach 3x also with the Oppo. And it seems from what I see that the Oppo is able to get more light in, guys. So 3x, and the moment I reach 6, guys, this is the reality. So I'm gonna use here 10, and it's even worse on the Samsung. So let me just go and choose the very same focal length. So it's gonna be 6, which is hybrid zoom, and you can just see there is nothing really to be seen. But still, at this hybrid zoom, I think the Galaxy is able to get in more light. But when I go to 10x, guys, see, boom, just dark. So one more time, I'm gonna go to 3x here. All right, the moment we get to the 3x camera, guys, you see how much light this cam is able to capture. So 3x, and I'm gonna go to the ultra wide one more time. Ultra wide on the S23 Ultra and ultra wide also on the Oppo Fine X7 Ultra. Alright, now I'm testing the 4K 60 FPS just to try to see how nice this footage is gonna look, or not nice. Alright, and now I'm gonna run towards this car to test the stabilization. You know how it goes. When I'm using 4K 60, I'm only able to do digital zoom up to 10x on the Galaxy. Okay, this is 10, and I can do the same on my Oppo, and there I can reach up to 6x, guys. Now let's check the photo samples. This is shot on the main camera on both phones, and this is the closest that they'll ever get. Now the problem here is, without sound, the S23 Ultra is really overexposing the highlights, and the Oppo Fine X7 Ultra is doing quite the opposite. It's trying to push down the shadows, and it's problematic because at the end we end up with an overexposed and an underexposed picture. This here is a 3x shot. We can see the same problem, although they're very similar. Again, it's a bit very wide on the S23 Ultra, and it's underexposed on the Oppo Fine X7 Ultra, though I kind of prefer the feeling from the Oppo because it's realistic and I can still see something. Details here is a crop from the previous shot that you've seen, the details on the Oppo Find X7 Pro are preserved better. In this specific shot, you can see a bit more of the face, and you can even see a bit more of the clothes and also the clothing. This is an interesting picture. It is a 10x picture, and you might think that Oppo is doing a better job, but once I show you the 100% crop from this picture, you're gonna see that the S23 Ultra is taking the lead here. The face of the person is more recognizable on the S23 Ultra, and the details and texture is completely gone on the Oppo. But here is a problem. Another 10x shot where S23 Ultra is able to preserve more texture and more detail, though the shot is not perfect, because here motion blur, shutter luck is, you know, not the best on Samsung devices, and on the opposite, the shot on the Oppo doesn't have the best details there, right, but it's still better to my liking. Now take a look at this interesting shot. This is a 30x shot, because 10x is clear, like most of the times in 10x still gonna get more detail from Samsung. But when you go beyond a 30x shot on both phones, well, this is 100% crop from the 30x, and you can see more details, more texture is clearly on the Oppo. The image from the Samsung is very soft, the detail is gone. Another 30x example, and the very same is to be observed. The detail is less on the S23 Ultra, and the moment I crop in, you're gonna see that not only detail but also this texture is lacking, and eventually 30x camera photos from the Oppo will end up better, even with the fact that the S23 Ultra is having a 10x optical zoom. But anything beyond 10x on both phones is rather hybrid, and Oppo is doing a better job. Now back to the sunny photos. Again, that's a shot from the main camera. I'm only showing you this because I believe that the main cameras on those phones are really the closest that they will get. Still here, there are the differences. Check how the sun is processing in terms of lens flare. Here, this is a crop from the same pictures, and I do believe that in fact Samsung is probably having the edge a bit more. Like when you crop in pictures from the main cameras, Samsung tend to have a bit more of that detail around and outside of the focus point. But now it's gonna get interesting, because we are gonna get to see the portraits. Standard 1x portrait. If you don't zoom in and pixel peep, you might think it's absolutely the same. This qualifies as a nice portrait photo. Now this here is a 2x portrait, again taken from both phones, and here we can start to see some of the differences with the handling of the individual hair strains and also skin tone and the skin tone processing. But this really blew my mind. This is a 3x portrait from the S23 Ultra and from the Find X7 Ultra, and again, without zooming in, you might think they are the same, but I can tell you they are absolutely not the same. This is 100% cropped from the same picture, and you can see how well the Oppo handles the skin tones. There are shadows everywhere, even from the eyelashes to the eye, absolutely softer on the Ultra. Not only this, but the Oppo is also processing the individual hair strains better than the S23 Ultra. So more detail, more texture, and also very, very nicely exposed on both phones. So here the Oppo is just winning with detail, but I believe it's important. I had to check if this happens only with sunny optimal conditions, and the results are absolutely the same. Check the crop from the very same picture. Skin tone handled absolutely better than versus the Samsung. The details that you can see on these pictures on the Oppo are really better. So texture and detail, and also the way the skin looks and the color, absolutely one-to-one, very, very realistic. Now, I'm going to show you some more samples. This is a standard 1x portrait, and this is where it gets interesting. This is a 2x portrait. Now, Samsung apparently again tries to overexpose the highlights, and we see the vice versa on the Oppo, but Oppo being really very realistic. The 3x portrait tells it all. Now look at my face. I can tell you the picture from the Oppo is more realistic. This is really how my face looks with the skin tone and the colors, and also the jacket. Again, Samsung is trying to overexpose the highlights a bit, and Oppo controls the exposure better, highlights and shadows. But now see, the moment you start pixel peeping, guys, so much more detail are captured on the Oppo. You can see the individual hairs from my beard. You can see also the glasses, and also the level of detail is amazing. And again, when the sun was not so much, both phones are able to reproduce almost the same portrait photo. So I was really testing this in all kind of conditions. That's a crop from the previous photo, and here I have a feeling that I'm looking at one and the same picture. But in fact it's not, so I decided to also check how well those phones are handling portrait photos with animals. So here is my cat, this is my cat, a standard 2x portrait. Now you can check the individual hair strands on the left ear are handled better on the Samsung, but the right ones are handled better on the Oppo. And now let's talk about zoom. Again, a lot of people really think that Samsung is the king with the 100x space zoom. The Oppo has 120, but those are a bit more like unusable. So here you can see that's a standard 3x picture. In this scenario they will all look the same. This here is already a 10x picture, and if you're not to pixel peep you might think they're the same, but again I'm gonna prove to you they're not. That's a crop from the 10x picture, and you can just see how softer the S23 Ultra is, but I like the 10x optical better. It's more realistic, more true to life. But the moment we reach beyond 10, like this is already 30x, something happens. The ProSync kicks in, and although they might look the same, they're not. This is a crop from the 30x, and you can just see how softer the one from the Samsung is. Another 10x shot. Again, when you engage the optical 10x zoom on the S23 Ultra, you'll have like more realistic photos. Like they will be softer, but somehow yet a bit more photographic, so to speak, like don't look so digital. But the moment you get to 30, the game changes. But now let's bring those phones inside and see how zoom works inside. This here is a 3x shot. This here is a 6x. Now Oppo has the edge here because 6x is optical and the 6x from the Samsung is digital, although I think this S23 Ultra is doing a rather good job here. Now we turn over to 10x, and the advantage should go to Samsung because Samsung has a 10x optical zoom, and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra uses hybrid here. And that's a 30x shot, and you can just see the shot from the Oppo looks better. You're even able to see some of that pricing, which is absolutely lost as information on the S23 Ultra. Another 10x shot to demonstrate that 10x optical is really the powerhouse. Although Oppo is able to really be very close in most of those results. And the moment we go to 30x, the Find X7 Ultra is absolutely killing it. Let's talk about shutter luck. It's been problematic for so many years for Samsung. So here you can just see my kids jumping. This is shot on the main camera. Like I said earlier in the video, when using the main camera, this is where those phones are so close. And not only they're close, but sometimes even, right, surprisingly, the S23 Ultra is able to give you the better picture. Proper exposure everywhere, really nice focus. So if there is enough sun, enough light, the S23 Ultra will not struggle to give you that nice shutter luck experience, like kids jumping and pets running. So everything is going to stay in the focus. See here, lace of the boot is absolutely frozen in time. One more test like this, shot on the main camera, just to be able to confirm the very same finding. Yes, both phones are doing well where there is enough light. Even the crop shows it, like everything is absolutely in focus. And now let's turn to the night photography, guys. This is again a shot from the main camera. The moment you start to pixel peep, you're going to immediately see that the Find X7 Ultra, I think due to the bigger sensor, the more modern sensor, is able to capture more details. This is a shot from the 3x on both cameras. 3x is optical on both phones, but the moment you start to zoom in, yeah. This here is a 10x picture, so again, optical usually is better, right? And in most of the cases where we have very nice and optimal conditions, sun and the light is okay, then the Samsung will still do a better job. But when the light is gone, see what happens here. The moment I start to pixel peep, there is no way even for you to tell which brand is this. It's completely gone. And this is a low light 30x. And again, I prefer here the Oppo better. It's just more contrasty and really works better for me. Now, something very interesting, guys. This is shot on the main cameras on both phones. See the Oppo. This is the more realistic picture. See the title human. It has this purple hue, which is absolutely not visible on the Samsung because the S23 Ultra is trying to overexpose the highlights again, and it just looks white because they are blonde. The information is just not there. They are destroyed. The Oppo is able to do a better job here, not only with preserving and properly exposing the highlights, but you might think that the Oppo is crushing the shadows and turning this into a nightmare. No, see, you'll end up with a very well exposed picture. Night photography shot on the main camera, and just look what the S23 Ultra is doing, overexposing the highlights that you're not able to separate the lamp. It's just gone, the information is just not there. A crop from the same photo will show you what I mean, like highlights absolutely destroyed, and the Oppo is able to show you the lamp and the light inside, which is really fantastic. More of the same scenario, again that's shot on the main camera, not only more lens flare, also bad control of the highlights. And guys, there is this yellow tint. I understand that there is the yellow light, but still the Oppo is giving the snow a more realistic look. The S23 Ultra will overexpose the highlights and will just give this very unpleasant yellowish tint. This is shot on the main camera. And you might think that the S23 Ultra is doing a better job. It probably is, because the S23 Ultra in this scenario is invoking the night mode. As to the Oppo, we'll tell you no, this is not so dark, so no night mode. So honestly here, I think that the S23 Ultra was doing a better job, but the night mode was not forced on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. And this here is a 3x shot, where the picture from the Samsung will appear a bit more softer, just a tiny bit. But still, I prefer the photo from the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. So this has been it, my camera review on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra versus the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. S24 Ultra incoming, guys, so keep watching and sub if you like content like this. Thank you so much, stay safe, VST over and bye.